Hafaday and welcome back to KUN News Extra. The Guam Humanities Council is a nonprofit organization providing foundational support and cultural educational programs for the people of the island. Their mission, to foster community engagement and dialogue, inspire critical thinking, celebrate diversity, and enrich the quality of life of island residents through the power of the humanities. Picturing America, Picturing Guam features exquisite masterpieces from local artists including Joe Babalta, Monica Baza, Tan Elena Cruz Beneventi, Jill Beneventi, Sal Bidari, Segundo Blas, Rick Castro, Ron Castro, and many others. By featuring work of local masters in picturing the island, residents will be able to examine Guam's artistic heritage in painting, sculpture, architecture, fine crafts, and photography in relation to America's art traditions. Through the lessons and activities developed around the project, students will be able to include local and national art pieces in their investigation of the cultural and political history of our island, as well as the character, ideas, and aspirations of a country. This weekend, the Council will conduct workshops for participating teachers and students as they learn how Picturing America, Picturing Guam can be used in the classroom too. Okay, now with that knowledge now firmly in place, let's go ahead and bring in our studio guest for more perspective on this very compelling issue. In studio with me now is Humanities Council Executive Director Dr. Kimberly Keeling, and from Marketing and Programs, Monica Flores. Ladies, Hafaday, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Okay, so of course art is one of the things, Dr. Keeling, we'll start with you, that of course binds us as all human beings, you know, cross-generational and cross-culture and everything. That's something that everybody, whether they know it or not, has in common and can appreciate and can do and everything. So how is art being channeled as a means of preserving the island's culture?
Well, in terms of this project, Picturing America and Picturing Guam, we're basically looking at the relationship between humanities and art. So we're, through this project, teaching not just students, but also the community about national history as well as local history through visual arts. So we're kind of combining kind of the masterpieces from America with our local masters here in Guam to look at our artistic heritage and our artistic traditions, as well as important events in our own history and culture.
Okay, now maybe just broadly so, and I mean that may be somewhat of a challenge given our time constraints, but what are some of the parallels between the artistic types of the art of the Americas and then some of the art that's more local to our part of the world?
I'm going to turn it over to Monica because she's been dealing with the specifics of the project as the project coordinator.
Perfect.
So.
Sure. Well, some of the examples that the National Endowment from the Humanities, some from their selection, include Norman Rockwell, Romero Bearden, Thomas Benton, Martin Puryear, and a lot of these pieces they're important parts of American history, important documents of American history.
Norman Rockwell, really?
Yes.
Cool.
So there were actually 40 images from the Picturing America set, and we were able to link 22 Guam examples to the set of 40. So, for example, some people might be familiar with N.C. Wyeth, and one of his famous illustrations was the cover for The Last of the Mohicans, and so we've linked him with Al Lazama, who's an archaeologist, a historian, and he's an artist as well. He does like stippling. Based on his field studies, he's recreated landscapes that would have resembled what the ancient Chamorros lived like, and so we're tying those two together. That's just one example. We have several examples. Another one is an example by the artist Grant Wood for the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, which is an important American legend. So we've tied this idea of an American legend to a piece about a Guam legend with works by Judy Flores. And the opening, there was a picture that Judy created about the legend of Gadao. So those are just a couple of examples. Everything is tied artistically, historically, or even compared and contrasted with the messages behind the artwork. So people are going to get a chance to see how we're using local art as a great way to teach children about or to teach students about history, culture, but also to have a conversation ourselves about our local art and how they document our heritage.
Okay, so because basically on either side of it, you know, either locally or from a national spectrum and everything, it's basically capturing a piece of history and displaying like what the world was like and how people interacted with each other at that point. So that's really interesting. How exactly was this project made possible? And what brought it about?
Actually, the National Endowment for the Humanities basically developed the project. So they did it through an initiative called We the People, which is a way for our nation, including Guam, to explore its own history and culture through the humanities. So actually the Humanities Foundation basically developed this whole set of materials. There's, as Monica pointed out, there's 40 reproductions of American masterpieces, along with the teacher's resource guide and a project website. And they actually gave the council and every council across the country a set to work with. And then we applied for a grant from the National Endowment to actually implement the project, use the sets in various ways. And so what we decided to do at the council is to present an exhibit not only of Picturing America, but also to develop a whole Picturing Guam component and exhibit that in relationship to the national project. With all of our projects at the council, we try to link what we do at the national level with what we do here in Guam.
And as I understand it, I'm sorry about that. As I understand it, we'll wrap up here in a minute. The artwork actually has educational applications, and you guys are actually developing some way that teachers can actually take what's being put on canvas and bring that back into the classroom. So real quickly, can you break that down?
We developed a lot of great questions identifying our vocabulary, tomorrow vocabulary, so there's also a language component, literacy component. The teachers can bring into the classroom, all age levels, basically Head Start to high school level, as well as some activities, art activities, and connecting them to local history and other local examples of art and culture. So we have a whole set for each Guam piece, and we are actually presenting these at a teacher's workshop. We have a series of free teacher's workshops for elementary, middle, and high school students, high school teachers, as well as Head Start teachers and College of Education students for the University of Guam. So they're free, and we're actually open for registration, so we'd really encourage teachers and future teachers to take advantage and sign up for the workshops. They can just give us a call at 472-4460 or 61.